Right, the strategies for competition day actually starts prior to competition day. So for the 3 days before, for the 2 days, so from the 11th and the 12th day, the athlete will eat very little carbs, nearly none at all. He will eat mostly high protein and high fats foods. This is because it's said to be more effective when for a carbo load on the last day before training. If a athlete hasn't eaten carbs for up to 40 for a period of time before the actual carbo loading, so that their carb sources are depleted. So, as mentioned before, there'll be a lot of meats, a lot of cheeses that are being eaten for those 2 days prior to the carbo load. And this is so on the day before, the athlete can eat lots of cheeses, lots of breads, rice, and pasta to carbo load, and this will ensure that there is a spike in energy levels, hopefully during performance, so that the athlete can then expel more energy during performance, and towards the later ends can work for longer at a higher intensity towards the end of the fight. And also on the day, the athlete will then also eat very little, as mentioned on the slide. He will eat very little. He will have a bowl of cereal in the morning, again high in sugars, high in carbs, as I thought it was important to at least have the athlete eating something, because a complete empty stomach might be detrimental to what the athlete is trying to achieve by winning the fight, as he might lack energy towards the end by not eating anything, although he carbo loaded the day before. So I believe that that eating the high carbohydrate, high sugary cereal will just help him to receive that little bit of energy needed. And then from that he will eat that early in the morning, and then from that he won't eat anything all day, apart from the banana, which he will eat 10 to 15 minutes prior to exercise. This will give him a spike in energy levels. The natural sugars that are in the banana will help him to become energized and to fight at the full intensity. Also, throughout the day, the athlete will be drinking lots of water in order to remain hydrated, and then with the banana he will also drink a Red Bull, so that yet again this is leading towards him being fully hydrated and energized. And then post competition, the athlete will be required to eat a high protein dish. Obviously during performance he's not going to be eating anything at all. He will literally only be drinking water. And post performance he'll be eating a high protein dish, such as which will be a beefsteak, as a beefsteak is one of the highest protein possible dishes that you can get. Right. Did my diet plans, was it a success? The athlete, by following my training plan, would have lost the 1.7 kg that he was required to lose, as the 900 deficit a day, which there was in place, and there is in place, would have helped him to achieve that. And overall, the athlete did need to lose the 12,600 calories, and that 900 a day would have helped him to achieve this. There was only potentially one issue with my diet plan that could maybe have affected him, And this is the fact that some days were perhaps not as accurate. So some days may have been potentially up to a couple of 100 calories over, and some might have been up to a couple of hundred calories below. But I'm very much, this very much hopefully, weighed itself out, so that overall it was, ensuring that the athlete still reached the 12,600 calories lost for the week. Also potentially, there are maybe one or two many foods that involve bad food, involve bad fats that could have led to some weight gain. Moving on to the evaluation of my diet plan, and as stated before, I think that the strength is that by having the 900 calories lost each day, they would have received their weight cut. And as mentioned before, also that the high carbohydrates and high sugar levels, particularly pre-training and pre-performance, is so important during a weight cut, because the athlete's energy sources will be incredibly low. So ensuring that they have those sources where their body can use the carbohydrates and use the sugars to energize, and ensure that towards the end of the sessions the athlete is still able to work hard, is vitally important. And also the use of the vitamins and minerals that relate to the needs of the fighter, so potassium, phosphate, vitamin C, and zinc, were vitally important, and I believe a strength, because they ensured that, as well as obviously becoming energized and all the stuff that the carbohydrates and the benefits that the use of the protein has, the vitamins will ensure that stuff like the immune system is able to be strong and fight any potential diseases, illnesses or injuries that the athlete might pick up. And I think the use of these was vitally important to ensuring that my fighter will, by the end of this 2 weeks, have be able to fight at their best level. And also, this sparring can be very wearing on a fighter, so these vitamins and minerals will be very important in ensuring that the athlete is not affected too much by that. Things to work on, however, obviously, as mentioned before, the accuracy of the calorie deficit. So this could be an issue, as obviously it could lead to the athlete not actually achieving their weight loss. And the 900 calories each day needs to be stuck to almost religiously, and perhaps it isn't during my diet plan, because you've got a couple of hundred over, and it is literally, it only takes a couple of hundred each day over or under, and the athlete doesn't end up making the weight. And at world title level, this could be the only opportunity that potentially the fighter gets. So you have to ensure that everything is as precise as it could be. Then, as mentioned also before, the athlete could potentially look to replace some of the unhealthy foods. So I can think of times where a double burger is used, although it has a high zinc content, which will help to build the fighter's immune system. The bad fats that will include, along with the French fries served with it, will be massive. Potentially look at using some leaner meat or vegetables that are high in healthy fats, instead of these sorts of foods that maybe appear a couple of times in my diet plan. And then finally looking at what I would do if I was to do the diet plan again. Obviously, I would look at making the things to work on better, but I'd also potentially look at maybe having a larger calorie deficit at the start of the training plan, because at the end it could be that as the athlete is still down and still in a deficit of calories, that their energy sources are still affected going towards competition day. Whereas if you are doing larger amounts at the start, yes, the energy is likely to be less, but that's during sparring and during preparation, which potentially, although massively important, might not be as important as actually isn't important as on fight day. So you might look to have potentially larger calorie deficits at the start of the week, so you're then able to meet the calories in versus calories out as even in the so potentially have them all in the first week and then have the second week as even calories in to even calories out, instead of having some sort of a deficit. But that is potentially the main thing that I would look to change within my diet plan. I could also look to, instead of carbo loading on the last day, potentially have a fat overload, as that is just another energy source that potentially could work more effectively for the fighter in order to energize them and to ensure that they can work at their maximum.